greatest gifts grow from what we're not given. All of a sudden I thought, I'm writing this story for my father. I had no idea. My dad didn't leave my mom, he didn't read fiction, there is no biographical evidence of my father in this story, but I write because I was trying to find a place in the world where my dad, who was this scientist, good German emotional scientist, and me, who had a very different view of the world, but we both loved each other, and I needed to find a place in the world where we could both hold our worldviews, both be right, and both love each other. And the only place I know where you can do that is literature, because there's no right, there's no wrong, there's just an attempt to understand another point. I wrote nonfiction back in the 90s, and then I wrote 3 different memoirs, none of which have been published, for which you are all thankful. But what was interesting was when I started writing fiction, it was as if I could be more personal writing fiction than I ever was writing memoirs. And I think partly it was because through other characters you can explore things you don't even know that you're curious about.
Or what the author was really thinking, and she had her own preconceived answer to that. So
Exactly.
and
She was going to say what she really thinks.
exactly.
I
Yes.
so totally agree with what
Yes,
you just said.
yeah.
Oh, same thing.
And sometimes though, if you really hate a book, that's just a really cool thing too.
It's okay.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, like, and why do you feel that way? And what, and what emotion did it stir?
If you don't support them, they won't be here. And we're having this discussion with the book club before this, that with the onslaught of books you're going to start getting, now that everybody can publish their own book, the need that we're going to have for those independent booksellers who are the ones that hand you the book and say, this is great. And out of the thousands of options you've got, they've winnowed it down to the 10 you're going to love because they know who you are. It's really, really important that we support them. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting them. And my goal here is to read to you a little bit and tell you a little bit about the book. Can I just get how many of you have actually read the book or not? Just so that, we have a mix. Oh, fun. Okay, good. Yeah, my sister Nina, who lives on Bainbridge, she's here. She can tell you she's probably read it 8 times. And we should actually probably have her come up and read because she's better than me because she's older. But I said no. But I did go through that experience, and it was this really very eye-opening and very intimate experience that I had with strangers. And I thought, how odd that these cooking classes, you get together with all these other strangers and you do this remarkable, intimate thing. And what would happen if you put these people together over a period of time? And so all I knew was that it was going to be a cooking class, would have 8 students, firmly believed they would show up in my head. And they did. These are not, people always ask, are these based on anybody you know? No, they're not. I don't know why I started coming up with imaginary friends at 43 years old, but I did. I am very glad. My husband has said he's going to get me that t-shirt that says, all my best friends are fictional. Carl had been 44 when Helen had told him she had had an affair. Over by that point, but she just couldn't keep it from him anymore, she had said. It was the most stunning thing that had ever happened to him. A rogue wave when he thought he understood the elements about him. Helen sat across from him at the kitchen table crying, and he realized he had no idea whose life he had suddenly walked into. He remembered odd things at that moment. Not the first time he had kissed Helen, but the time soon after when he had walked up behind her as she was standing in her small dormitory kitchen, and he touched his lips to the back of her neck. She didn't want to leave him, she said, and she didn't want him to leave her. She loved him, always had, she just needed for him to know. He found himself wishing that she, who could keep a Christmas secret from their children for months without wavering, could have kept this one for herself. Not forever, but for a while, as if in recognition that some announcements need anticipation to ease their transitions into our lives, a chance to feel the wavering doubts, to note the passenger seat of the car set to measurements not our own, the last cup of coffee taken from the pot without an offer to share. It was, as Carl would later say, a spectacular failure of imagination on his part. He, who inhabited the future every day in his job as an insurance agent, who helped people prepare for disaster of any magnitude, hadn't seen any signs.